Welcome back. This is your man Warrior. This is another patron roster review, and I am actually more excited about this roster review than I've done any of them in the last month, and this is why. Yasho from Mortal Separatists was very, very open and candid and basically said, I am overwhelmed. Now, I get that a lot from a lot of people, but we had a long discussion by private chat about the overwhelming nature of this game, and I get it because there's so much new content constantly just being released that it's really, really hard to be hyper-focused and know, what am I giving up and what am I getting and, what should I be ignoring and what should I be running for? And he had questions about Arena and Fleet and how to complete Galactic War because Galactic War is uncompletable after, Gear 12 launched, and I can't do Rancor and, Heroic AAT, and there's so many teams and they're constantly changing and evolving, and now there's solo teams, and what do I do? And Yasho, I'm with you, brother. So Yasho, this is a really cool story. He's a dolphin. He spent a little bit of money in the game here and there, but all in all doesn't spend monthly or anything like that. Just occasional, super small dolphin. He's been playing since the beginning of the game. The problem is he was deployed for a period of time because he is a full-time Army National Guard. And so thank you for your service, by the way. And so he lost out or missed out on a lot of opportunity for a long period of time and got kind of behind the curve and then had to try and play catch up, and that is just extremely difficult to play catch up. And so a couple of things on that. The first is that you're like, I'm trying to get caught up in Arena, how do I do it? And you're trying to get caught up in ships, how do you do it? And first off, you're going to have to accept the fact that you were gone for a very large period of time, and that puts you at a severe disadvantage. To be honest, for you to be in or around the top 100, having been gone as long as you have, and only being a dolphin and not a whale, you're doing phenomenal. So kudos to you for that, okay? We're going to kind of take this and we're going to break it down. We're going to try and get you to really focus on what's most important. So what we're going to roll into is we're going to roll into Arena first, and we're going to talk about your Arena team and how we could make it better, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing I notice on your team is you got Biggs and Wedge, Chirrut and Baze and R2-D2, and that is a great team. But if you're a free-to-play, mostly free-to-play or Dolphin, the one thing that's going to always be true in the top 100 is you are not going to have the same speed on your mods that they have. And so one trick, obviously, for free-to-play that you can do is to have Rex as your leader. Rex as your leader is going to speed your team up drastically. Now, what's really cool about Rex is you already have him maxed out pretty much. Gear 11, you've got health mods, you've got his abilities maxed out, and he doesn't even have to be fast to be efficient as a leader. Obviously, the faster you can make him, the faster he can get tenacity up on your team, which is excellent to counter things like burn and, Darth Nihiluses who are going to try to increase cooldown and stuff. But even if you don't have that, Rex just gives so much turn meter to your team. It speeds your entire team up, giving you the ability to compete with some of those CLS teams and some of those other, really powerful teams in the top 100. Now, obviously, you got 3 Gear 12 characters. I'd be remiss if I didn't say get these 3 Gear 12 characters into your Arena team. R2-D2, Chirrut, and Baze, all 3 are phenomenal. Now, R2-D2 is the one you really want to put the amount your speed mods on to get as fast as humanly possible. Currently, you've got his speed at 208, and that's not bad, but I would definitely try to shoot for a little bit higher. Try to get, if possible, 80 or more speed on him. You should be able to get a 30 speed out of Arrow, and then if you can get 5 to 10 secondary speed on the other, you're going to get that, and that should be doable. But R2-D2 on your Arena team is really going to be the one you want the fastest, and the whole purpose of that is so he can stealth the whole team, and then you'll have them being forced to hit your base Malbus, which is going to be as tanky as possible, so that is good. In the meantime, with this team, you can throw Darth Nihilus in there because you have him Gear 11, 7-star, and of course Darth Nihilus is going to be kind of the end-all be-all. You'll be able to finish characters off. I would finish off his Annihilate Omega that. You don't have to Zeta his leader or unique, but definitely get his Annihilate finished off, so that way they can't come back to life because you don't want them to be haunting you, especially with some of the new Night Sisters coming into the game. You might see some of those teams popping up in the top 200, so definitely want to finish off that Annihilate. But check this out. What? Ha! Hallelujah! Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right, Han Solo. Han Solo is a punk to gear, and I apologize in advance for suggesting him, but I'm telling you, he's going to take your arena to a whole nother level. He changes the game. He not only stuns the opponent so that way you get to really control the battlefield with his stun, but he does ridiculous damage. He's currently the highest damage dealer in the game for an attacker. You have him 6 stars. I'm sure you're getting really close to 7 stars. So if it was me, I'd put him in your favorites. I'd put the very best critical chance and critical damage mods on him. Put a speed arrow, put a critical damage triangle, put a protection or offense, preferably offense plus, and a protection circle, and then critical chance set, critical damage set, max all his abilities out. And you asked about Zeta, who should you Zeta next potentially? I would Zeta Han Solo. So that would be your next Zeta is Han Solo, and this would be your #1 important person to gear for arena. I'm telling you, one character can make all the difference in the world. He can stun the opponents. He can do 60,000 damage after taking 3 shots in a row. I've done this. I do this every day with him in my team. So that can chew through tanks extremely fast, and the stun is definitely like with him and R2-D2, you can stun lock the opposing team. So if you really want to compete in that top 100, Han Solo right now is the hottest ticket ever in this game. He is just really, really powerful. His gearing sucks, I'm not going to lie. He's got a lot of raid gear, and he's got a lot of gold gear once you get him high up there, and he's very squishy, so you're going to want to be able to protect him with the R2-D2 and your bays. But man, I tell you what, with him and Chirrut, you're going to be able to do a lot of damage. Now, as far as fleet, you're doing really well, but I am going to suggest that you look at a potential another team. And when I tell you this other team, there are going to be a few ships that you're going to have to farm and characters you're going to have to gear. So anyone that I tell you their ship that's different, you're going to have to farm both the ship and the character from that. So let's get in. So you're using right now Home 1, and that's fine, but I would suggest you switch over to the Executrix. If you do that, though, you're going to have to get Grand Moff Tarkin up. The higher Grand Moff Tarkin is, the faster his ship goes. Get him 5-dot mods. Even if you don't use him in the game anywhere else, just throw 5 random 5-dot mods on him. Get his abilities maxed out, or at least to level 7. That's going to help significantly increase his GP, his galactic power, and then also go ahead and level up his gear to 8 or 9. That's going to help get it at least to that. Get the Executrix's ships abilities up, because currently your abilities are at like 2, and you got 3 at 2 and 1 at 4 and 1 at 5. Get these abilities maxed out completely on the Executrix. This ship is awesome. It's really going to give you a significant advantage, especially when paired with the team I'm about to suggest. So obviously a taunting and a non-taunting tank. You're going to use the Umbaran Starfighter. Biggs, because the 2 of them are going to be able to dispel on basic with the Umbaran, and Biggs is going to be able to target lock on his basic and taunt, and you're going to be able to pair them up with 3 of the TIE Fighters. And so you've got TIE Advanced, continue to farm the TIE Advanced, and then you've got the Imperial TIE Fighter. You've got him at gear 10 and the ship at 5 stars. Keep working on that ship to get it 7 stars and continue to max these abilities out. And then the last one that I would suggest in your primary lineup is First Order TIE Fighter. This guy is a super ridiculously hard farm. He was, in my opinion, the hardest farm I had in the game. There were like 3 or 4 that were really difficult, but First Order TIE Fighter for me was one of the most difficult. Maybe General Veers was up there too. And Lobot, surprisingly, was up there as well. But get this ship maxed out, get the abilities maxed out, and get your First Order TIE Fighter leveled up and geared up, and put some 5-dot mods on him and get his abilities up to level 7. This First Order TIE Fighter is an MVP on this team, can do tons of target lock and do massive damage and gain turn meter through that. So definitely want First Order TIE Fighter. And then as far as your backup, of course, you're going to work your Umbaran, your Imperial TIE Fighter, and First Order TIE Fighter. You're going to want to work the ships and their pilots. But then in the backup, you're going to want Scimitar. And I noticed you don't have Scimitar anywhere. You don't even have Scimitar. But you definitely want Scimitar in there. And then your Slave 1 and Wedge. Slave 1 and Wedge would work really, really well. Your Slave 1's really high, Wedge is really high. So both those ships are excellent. And I would continue to do those ships. But, you know, for Arena, Han Solo, for Fleet, you're looking at the Umbaran, the Imperial TIE Fighter, the First Order TIE Fighter, and the Scimitar. So 4 ships, four tunes. So you're looking at 5 total tunes I've suggested to really focus on and work on. Now, you did say that you're feeling totally overwhelmed with completing Galactic War and, you know, possibly doing heroic AAT and all of that. I have a suggestion for you, Yasho. I'm not sure you're going to be super excited about this, but let me show you who you're going to get. Right here is the answer to all of your problems. You've got R2 already finished. Rey, you can ignore. Resistance Pilot, Resistance Trooper, Poe, and Finn. And you don't even need them past Gear 8. You just need them 7-star. And this is a pretty easy team to Gear 8 and to Gear 9. And so you are already doing really well for yourself with this team. But obviously you're going to need Finn. You're going to want to put a Zeta on Finn, and you're going to want to get Finn and Resistance Trooper up to 7 stars and Poe to 7 stars. Get them all to Gear 8 or Gear 9. Now, what this is going to do for you, you're needing heroic AAT teams. I'm not going to give you too much. I mean, you're a Dolphin, and you're not spending a ton of money in the game. You're definitely not investing every single month, and so I can't give you too many people. I've already given you like 5 characters to gear up for Arena and Fleet, and some ships. And so I'm going to say this is the one team for the HAAT I'm going to suggest, and really you could get 10 million with this team, and with 10 million you won't even need to do damage in the other phases. Really, you're going to be an all-star on your team with just this one team, and you're going to be able to, the biggest thing you said was since Gear 12 came out, you can't even complete Galactic War. I get people every day that show me their Galactic War and how they beat it with a Gear 8 team of Resistance. It's amazing. I use the Resistance sometimes in my Galactic War and go from first to end. So I know this is a team you're going to have to work on, but they're going to make, I promise you, once you complete this team, you're going to look back and go, my God, why didn't I do this like a year ago? And that's just because revelation on this team didn't come until the HAAT, and that's when people started to see a value in them. Plus, they were only recently reworked in the last 6 months to have their expose actually work right, and so it's like a ripple effect. It takes a while for something like this to take effect in the game. So this is the one team you're going to work on, the Resistance. It really only needs 1 Zeta, and to farm them up isn't going to take too long. You're already over halfway there with your farming and your gearing. So really in the next 30 to 45 days you should have them up and running, maybe 2 months, but this would be my priority right here. This team would be in my favorites, as well as Han Solo, 5s, the First Order TIE Fighter, his ship, and the Imperial TIE Fighter, obviously Darth Maul and his Scimitar. And then the last thing I want to go over is Rancor. For Rancor, they're obviously Darth Vader lead with a Zeta is a really, really good way to go. And then, of course, I'm sure you've heard of this, but maybe not, but R2-D2 and Teebo combined is a great combination, because Teebo can remove turn meter on his basic as long as he's stealth. He stealths himself for a couple of turns. R2-D2 can stealth him for another couple of turns. And so if you alternate their stealths, you can make sure Teebo's always in stealth, taking away turn meter. So there's that combination. And then the other two I would suggest is Jyn Erso. You already have her. Jyn Erso can remove 100% turn meter, really, with her truncheon strike. So really, really great. Definitely recommend throwing her in there. And you have her at like Gear 11, so that is an excellent combination. And then the last I would do, because you're going to put Jyn Erso and R2-D2 together, there's already 2 rebels. The last character I would add in there would be Biston, and Biston gets 10% potency for every rebel, so he's going to get for himself plus 2 others 30% potency, which equals 30% turn meter reduction, plus you can put another 65% potency on him pretty easily and get him up to 90 to 100% turn meter reduction on his gunner's tactics. Excellent rebel for taking away turn meter, with him taking away 100% turn meter every 3rd turn, and Jyn doing it every other turn, and you've got Teebo doing it every turn potentially, and then Darth Vader 50% of the time. taken a little bit away. You've got that great combination to be able to just solo this. Obviously, you're not going to hit auto. You're going to play it out manually, but R2-D2, Tebow, Darth Vader is the lead, Jin and Biston. It's just an excellent team with the 3 rebels. Biston's going to really shine, but the one thing you're going to have to do, you know, I've given you 5 characters plus the resistance, and now I'm going to add a 6th character. So I know you felt overwhelmed at the beginning, but know now that all you have to do are the 6 characters I suggested and resistance team, and those are all that should be in your favorites squad. You should have about 12 in your favorite squad, and you're going to have them at all different varying levels of gearing. So some will be easy to gear, some will be a little harder, but good news is, like I said, resistance doesn't need to go too high, and then you can focus on really putting the mods on your characters and working on them. And once you have these, it's going to become a lot less overwhelming. You're going to be able to complete Galactic War, you're going to be able to do the Rancor, you're going to be able to compete with the heroic AAT and get 5 to 10 million damage with this team. As far as arena, you're going to have a better arena team with Han Solo smoking the competitors, and your fleet's going to naturally rise up, and you're going to come back to life, Yasho. I have no doubt. Again, thank you for your time serving in the National Guard. I really appreciate that. But you're doing really, really well, to be honest. I'm sure mortal separatists are extremely excited to have you, Yasho, but your galactic power, it looks really well. You're almost at 1.5 million. For someone who spends very little money in the game, that's excellent. Your team looks wonderful. If anybody has comments about this, leave them in the comments down below for Yasho on any of the teams that I suggested. Obviously, Resistance is going to be favorited. I'm sure a lot of people will say that. And the Rancor team is just one of those that until you get your CLS 7 stars, you're not really going to be able to do. So make sure you use the Rancor team I'm suggesting. But leave comments down below if you have any suggestions for them. As always, keep your gaming on. Warrior out.